Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, Joe Rampton, and I were sitting around talking. And Disney was in its second heyday. They were doing unbelievable films, in that era of The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, right in that era. And we made a list, actually, of what we didn't want our film to be. And we didn't want it to be a musical. We didn't want it to be, a villain that wants to take over the world. We didn't want it to be, the main character being kind of boring and all the characters around him would be interesting, the comic sidekicks and the bad guys and so on. We wanted the main character to be the most interesting character in the film. And we wanted to feel more contemporary in storytelling. And so we started looking around, and we discovered the buddy picture as a genre of storytelling that no one had done in animation before. And we fell in love with it because there's so many great buddy pictures. And the buddy picture by nature we loved because the main character, the two main characters, change dramatically through the film, and that's what we wanted because we felt that the emotion of the character was going to come from. It always comes from the protagonist, the main character, changing and growing and learning something. And so we started developing this ventriloquist dummy, kind of Charlie McCarthy-like ventriloquist dummy, and the Tinny as the tin toy. And we were going, and I just was looking at my own family at that point. Nancy and I have 5 sons, and as they were growing up, I would recognize that they wouldn't play with a tin toy as a new toy, because we felt like a buddy picture with toys would be a child's favorite toy. An old toy is replaced by a new toy, and it was a ventriloquist dummy was his favorite toy, and then get replaced by the little tin toy. And it just didn't feel right. And I kept looking at my sons, what they were played with, and they were playing with action figures. And I started thinking, well, it should be an action figure, because that's really what is what kids are playing with. And then I just remembered back to 2 seminal things in my life. One, I grew up during the 60s when the space race was going on. And the astronauts were going to the moon, and they were the coolest guys on the planet. When they walked out, my parents would get me up, and we'd watch them live on TV, walking out to get in that elevator, to go up and climb into that capsule to go to the moon. And these guys were walking in the white suits with the clear helmets, and they had the kind of little skull caps on with the ear, the microphones and the headphones on and stuff, and you sit there, and they were so cool. And I thought, oh my God, that's great. So I never forgot that, and also Star Wars, which was such an important film for all of us, really. But it was so important, in kind of space becoming sort of vibrant storytelling again. And so I thought, well, it should be a space superhero, kind of space action figure, kind of superhero guy, and that's where the evolution from the tin toy went. And then it was Bud Luckey, who was one of the great story guys that worked with us, who was older than us, who was from Montana. And he said, well, have you thought about the ventriloquist dummy being a cowboy? And right away I knew that was perfect, because in buddy pictures you have to make the 2 characters in the beginning of the film as opposite as possible. The one that was really important to us was the Defiant Ones, starring Sidney Poitier and Tony Curtis, and it's in a prison in the South where, a black man from the North is handcuffed to a racist from the South, and they're being transferred, they get into an accident, and they escape. The white guy wants to go south, the black guy wants to go north. You can't get more opposite than that. And it's the most powerful film. It's not a comedy, it's a drama. But to see these 2 grow together, and they're literally handcuffed together. And it's so powerful. And that's what was so inspiring for us with this. And so that really became the foundation of the story that we started to tell. So we start developing the story, and everyone at Disney was really concerned that adults, teenagers, college students, why would they come to a movie to see toys being played with by a kid and having the word toy in the title? It's like, no one's going to see this. It's too juvenile. You got to make it edgier. You got to make it edgier. You got to make it, they kept saying edgy, edgy, got to make it edgy, and so we're like, oh, okay. Clearly they know, we've never done a feature and we're drawing away and trying to make it. And so he kept pushing Woody, the main character, the character Tom Hanks was going to play to be edgy and edgy and edgy. And then we finally put together like the first act of the film. And we showed it to Disney with all this, notes that they were given that we had to do, mandatory notes. And so this is an image kind of during that time. And Woody was not likable at all. And we thought, okay, we did their notes and we showed it to them. And it was a disaster. It was horrible. We call it Black Friday. And it was really horrible. They said, "What happened? This is like kind of unlikable, unwatchable. Oh my God!" And they were threatening. They wanted to shut the production down.
I also got a call from Peter Schneider. I remember sitting in my car, telling him that we had to move Pixar down to Burbank to finish the film.
They thought, you clearly can't do it yourself. We're going to move you down. And you're going to be right next to us while we develop the story with you because you clearly can't do it on your own. And we kind of looked at each other and it was like, oh my God. And this was like 3 weeks before Christmas, and I just couldn't imagine like taking all my guys and gals away from their families right before Christmas to go down there and sit with them. And so we I basically went to Peter Schneider and went to them and said, please, give us 2 weeks. Give us 2 weeks, and let us turn things around. We convinced them to give us 2 weeks. And so we went back, and we looked at each other, and we said, let's tell the story we want to tell. And from that point on, it was a fundamental shift in the way we even still to this day, we deal with kind of notes and stuff, is that we use the notes that we think are going to make the movie better, and we ignore the notes that we don't think is going to make the movie better. We kind of just sort of quietly ignored the whole mandatory note concept. And we just sat there and spent 2 weeks. And one of the things that was unique is that because the Lucasfilm Computer Division invented digital nonlinear film editing with the Edit Droid. We were the first animated film to be using the Avid. It was brand new, and we grabbed hold of that thing, and I said, this is the way. And Disney kept saying, no, we only see things on film. And we said, okay, fine, but we're going to use the Avid, and then we'll transfer it onto film, which we did. We had to do that. And but we were able to work day and night, and we rewrote the whole beginning of the film from the very beginning of the film until Buzz Lightyear arrives and flies around the room.